Oops. Okay, so like I said, cancer is our theme for the month, and there's lots of parts about this that kind of matter. And so one of them has to do with the fact, and we alluded to this before, that exercise and being physically active is definitely very beneficial from a health promotion standpoint, and you're going to be a healthier person if you stay fit. And so obviously one of the ways that you're going to be healthier is by lowering your risk of cancer. And so just a few statistics here. Hide that. Isn't there a way to hide this other thing?
Maybe you can drag it first.
This is the part I want to. So I don't actually keep track of who's a cancer survivor here in the room or not, but I know there are some, and it's pretty prevalent to know people that have dealt with cancer and have gotten beyond it, or maybe are still dealing with it. And then I think these are just interesting statistics that as of January 2022, there's 18 million cancer survivors in the US, which represents about 5% of the population. And just like the silver tsunami, that the numbers of people are growing in every category. So as the number of older people go, the number of people that are living with cancer is going to grow too. And that's what this little graph is about. And the other survivor statistics is kind of interesting, that about 70% of survivors lived 5 years after they are diagnosed with cancer, and 40% lived 10 years, and 18% have lived 20 years after being diagnosed with cancer. So, in the past, any cancer diagnosis used to consider that was sort of like a death threat, but that's really not the case. And so there's lots of people that get beyond whatever cancer that they have, and that's a good thing. And hopefully that will continue to improve. Relative survival is just this term that describes the percentage of people who are expected to survive, and it's pretty high. 70% are expected to live at least 5 years past being diagnosed with cancer, which means that 30% aren't so lucky, but it's a reasonably high number. But that's just global stuff. So every case is individual, and one person's story is not the same as somebody else's. So the things about, if you go on the CDC website or any other of these other government sites that are touting statistics, they like to present the evidence that shows how being physically active does indeed lower your risk of cancer. So bladder cancer is one of the thing that's well studied, and here's a study of 11 cohort studies, 50% lower for individuals with the highest level of recreation or occupational activity than those who weren't as active. And an analysis of over 1 million people found that leisure time physical activity was linked to a 13% reduced risk of bladder cancer. So they basically just poll everybody and see who's active and who's not. And the people that are more active are the ones who have less cancer. I also had fun with this presentation with the ribbon. So this is the actual official ribbon for bladder cancer, which is this 3-colored tone thing. Breast cancer, that's obviously one of the most common cancers, and pink is its ribbon colors. And many studies have shown that physically active women have a lower risk of breast cancer than inactive women. Women who increase their physical activity after menopause have a lower risk of breast cancer than women who do not. Colon cancer, some studies there showing that it has a nice reduction in lower risk of colon cancer than for people that are active. Colon cancer is a dark blue ribbon. Endometrial cancer, which also would be uterine cancer, is sort of a peach-colored ribbon. And there's studies there saying that activity lowers that risk. Esophageal GI cancer, periwinkle blue ribbon, has studies supporting that as well too. So basically there's lots of studies that support that physically active people have a better risk of cancer. And these are the kind of cancers that are the ones that have the documented numbers to say what the lower percentages are. Kidney cancer, which I think is an orange ribbon, is in this list. Stomach cancer is the same as the esophageal, the periwinkle blue ribbon, has a lower risk. And lung cancer, white ribbon. There's also an association risk there, and this is where it kind of gets tricky, because if you just think about what's going on, and people that are physically active, for the most part, are able to be physically active and do more stuff than their non-counterparts because they don't smoke, right? So just because of the non-smoking is probably why their risk is lower, and they don't smoke because they're physically active. So they're kind of connected, and it just indicates the value of lifestyle in this whole risk reduction picture. And this is the CDC's picture of this, which I just think is just bizarre. It's not, it's not pretty, but it's just showing the different organs that we just mentioned, all these different organs that could have cancer, and how if people are physically active, their risk in all of these various these are the cancers where exercise is documented to showing an improved risk. Okay. And where that all fits in has to do with the physiology of it. So if you're active, then there's things that are going on within your physiology that are contributing to your lower risk. So one of those are the hormones that are going on. So lower levels of estrogen and growth factors contribute to cancer development. So if you keep those at bay by working out regularly, that's a good thing. Insulin is better controlled, not running rampant if you have bad diabetes. So that contributes or helps your cancer picture from progressing, and that's documented in breast and colon cancer. We talk about inflammation a lot, and so exercise is a good thing towards that picture, and that's one of the contributing things to any of our disease processes is this inflammation going on. And the exercise also, it contributes to improving your immune function, which fits in with improving your cancer picture. And I'm not quite sure I understand the connection between your food traveling through your GI system with exercise, but you can't be moving food if you're working out, I guess. And then going back to the lifestyle stuff, when you're active, physically active, you're theoretically, hopefully, doing a better job of maintaining a good body weight. And so obesity could be one of the risk factors that's contributing to your cancer. And if by being more active, you're keeping your weight in better control, then that's a positive effect of this whole thing. And so the reduced risk from exercise could be because you're not smoking and you're controlling your weight better and you're controlling your diabetes better. We downplay sitting a lot. We think that's not such a good thing to be doing all the time, and that indeed does have some risk related to cancer, that people that are truly sedentary because they're inactive basically are going to have a higher cancer risk. And then this is just a little summary of all that stuff, that if you exercise, so you're going to maintain your weight better, you're going to reduce inflammation, you're going to boost your immunity, I guess your GI system works better, your hormones are better, and those are the things that trickle down and affect your cancer picture. And this is just a reminder of the lifestyle things and how those are what's contributing to your health in general, and when part of your improved health would be a lower risk of cancer development. And then, like I said, I just really was intrigued by the various ribbons, and there's tons of colors. So here's all the various ribbons. And so we're used to seeing pink ribbons everywhere, but there's basically a different color for every kind of cancer. And how you get these tritone colors ribbons, obviously it's not with fabric, or maybe it is, you have to sew them, I don't know. Interesting. Anyway, that's all the various ribbons. Okay, so the flip side of that is, so yeah, if you're an active person, then you're going to have a lower risk of cancer. But obviously, there's a lot of people out there with cancer. And so then where does exercise fit into their life? And so that's worth thinking about as well. And so just because you have cancer doesn't mean that you should quit exercising. That's really the take-home point, okay? So being active is going to reduce your risk of getting cancer. And if you do have cancer, it's hopefully going to also improve your picture there. It's going to increase your life expectancy. It's going to increase your or reduce your likelihood of the cancer coming back if it does go into remission. So if you do have a cancer, you basically, the encouragement is to maintain the best physical activity that you can to keep this health picture going. And I have some stuff for that. So the ACSM concluded that exercise training is generally safe for cancer survivors and that every survivor should maintain some level of physical activity. And obviously it's super individualized depending on who they are, how old they are, what kind of cancer they have, et cetera. And some specific studies that have looked at people with cancer and how they did with exercise is that in breast cancer, a review, cancer survivors who were more physically active had a 42% lower risk of death from any cause and a 40% lower risk of death from breast cancer than those who were the least physically active. So there's a study showing that with cancer, you should keep active. Same thing for colon cancer and prostate cancer. So they're just specific studies that looked at the effect of exercise on the future risk of the cancer and where it's going. So that's where they're making the statements that being active with cancer is going to improve your life expectancy. Research shows that for most people, exercise is safe and helpful before, during, and after cancer treatment, because again, all of these positive things that exercise does, some of it physical and some of it actually just, mental and stress management things. Too much time spent sitting or resting can cause loss of body function, and many cancer care teams are urging their patients to be as physically active as possible for, during, and after cancer treatment. So here's kind of, we know the things that exercise does. It contributes to your energy level. It helps you manage your mood better, improves your fitness, you're stronger, your bones are in better health, your immune system is in better health, your weight's in better control. And so those are the benefits of exercise that are contributing to the better picture with cancer. It might reduce the effects of the treatments. And sometimes it's not the cancer that really is hurting you, it's the treatment, right? They're trying to treat it aggressively, and it if you survive the treatment, you're in good shape. So here's just a website that's got some general guidelines for people that are trying to move with cancer. And if you thought about it, and many of you have, undergone surgeries in your life, and you probably know that if you're anticipating a surgery, you really do want to go into that as healthy as you possibly can, right? You want to get in shape to survive the surgery. You're going to go do better in a surgery if you have been active before you had it and you took care of stuff. So, and people that are basically going through cancer treatment may or may not have that luxury of saying, oh yeah, I'm going to have cancer treatment in a month, I better get in shape. They they probably don't, but if they did, it would be to their advantage if they could do some stuff to boost their strength up so that they can survive the surgery better. And that has to do both with the physical attributes of getting in better shape and also the psychological, mood building, stress relieving aspects of being in better shape. So many people find that as you start treatment, it's harder for you to keep up with it. So if you go into your treatment at a higher place, you're going to basically give yourself an advantage there and tolerate the period of inactivity related to being treatment than if you hadn't been in as good a shape as when you started the treatment. And while people are undergoing active treatment for cancer, which means they might be having radiation or chemo, and there's so many different approaches to that now. I certainly don't know a whole lot about it, but sometimes it's, a treatment once a week for 3 weeks. And so when they have the active treatment, obviously they're zonked out, but then they have a recovery period before the next treatment. And so that's when patients are encouraged to do what they can in between treatments, basically. And it's logical that you have to be mindful, and just because you were in good shape before you had some huge blast of chemotherapy doesn't mean you're going to be able to do the same thing that you did before. So you shouldn't expect that you're going to do the same things that you used to do, but the more you can do and as much as you can keep moving, the better that is going to be to your advantage. So you're always encouraged to keep moving. And then when you're done with treatment, that's the time, obviously, when people are in a better mental state to think about, okay, how am I going to get back on my feet now? How am I going to do things to get back out here in the world? And so exercise obviously can have a sort of a role in that. And so the encouragement is to move no matter what you're doing, and everyone has to do it at their own level of ability and under the situations. But that's the encouragement, is that they get restarted on a healthy lifestyle. And I'm just talking about exercise today. Obviously, eating is another big picture within this whole concept, but we're not talking about that today. So, but if you're going to exercise right, hopefully you're going to eat right. And those two things together are a positive lifestyle that hopefully is making your comeback from a cancer treatment more effective. Studies of people with breast, colorectal, and prostate cancer suggest that physically active cancer survivors have a lower risk of cancer recurrence and improved survival compared to those who are inactive. So just like having a heart attack, the encouragement is to get back on your feet and start doing stuff. You do, just because you had this life-threatening event, whether it was a heart issue or a cancer issue, that really is not the reason to sit back on the couch and never get up again, right? It's, you really, those are the times when you need to think about, what am I going to do to get back on my feet? And obviously, depending on how serious the cancer is, if it's a really, you're terminally ill and you're on constant treatment, you're not going to be able to do what you can, but you do the best you can. And any movement typically is going to make you feel a little bit better, whether it's just getting out and working in your yard, playing in your yard, or taking a slow walk around the block. That's considered to be beneficial to your mood and your physical picture both. So some encouragements for how you should exercise if you do have cancer is to do it, to take part in something regularly, but obviously start slowly. And the goals are the same. That the notion is that everybody should get at least 30 minutes of exercise 5 times a week. 150 minutes, a week of activity is the goal for everybody, whether you have cancer or heart disease or kidney stones or foot issues. The goal is to find something that's going to work for you so you can fulfill this minimum. And sometimes that requires that you do it in little chunks, 10 minutes at a time, 5 minutes at a time, here and there throughout the day. That's way better than 0 minutes, right? And the encouragement is still to do a little bit of resistance stuff and to do some stretching. Those are activities that help your joints, help you feel better, etc. And obviously, if you're a cancer patient and you're trying to do stuff, you need to be doing that with the guidance of your healthcare team, right? So your doctor should be guiding you in some of this, or whoever it is that's supervising your treatment. So you can't disclude the fact that they should know what's going on with you. And you certainly might need to not be as vigorous as you were before you were going through cancer treatment. But again, the goal is to do what you can and be as active as you possibly can. And hopefully in the long run, that's going to be to your advantage. Some other tips, again, break it up if you need to. These are general for any exercise. So, just moving around your house sometimes makes you feel better. And sometimes it helps to do more than one thing, to have different activities to participate in, whether it's yoga or stretching or bowling or lawn darts. There's stuff to do that's going to make you move and feel better. And I'm going to end with these programs designed for people who have cancer, because there are some out there. And sometimes health clubs might have a special class for people that have cancer. And I think this is worth noting, that if you are under active treatment, depending on if you have, tubes and lines going into your body, a chlorinated pool might not be the best place for you to be doing stuff. So you have to be, if that's your activity, is to actually get in the pool, make sure that your healthcare team is aware of that, because they might not want you to be in the pool if, again, you have these things that could be affected by the chemicals in the pool. So 2 things that I know about, and I'm sure there's others out there. But Triumph Fitness is a exercise program that's for people that have cancer, and it's sponsored or coordinated through this thing called the Triumph Cancer Foundation, and there's chapters here in Sacramento. And last year my Gero class did a fun run for the Shamrock. I remember that. That was a benefit for this Triumph Cancer Foundation. And so it's just a resource for people that are in that recovery mode, that are ready to kind of get back doing stuff, that they can coordinate through this. And they, it's a special program, and it's just because of the pandemic. It's mostly virtual, I believe, that people get together and do stuff, and they have structure to what they should be doing to get back on their feet and to moving. So that's one resource I know about. And I'm just curious, did anybody, this is my rowing team actually, and which is why I know about Triumph Fitness, because one of the women I row with actually out of the blue found out she had lung cancer, never been a smoker. And so she had some surgery, and she's now a cancer survivor. And it was and she's about 70. And that was obviously a dramatic lifestyle changing event for her, because she never was aware of that until she had some trouble breathing. At any rate, she's doing fine. And so she's a super active and engaged person. And so she has now created a subset of my rowing club, which is basically a special team that's for cancer survivors. And there's about 15 women, I think, so far that are on this team. And they were just on Good Morning America, or whatever is this Sacramento thing show. How do you keep hiding that? Good Day Sacramento. Did anybody see that?
No, I missed it.
Yeah, well, it's, so they were there. They were, huh?
I generally watch it, but I missed that.
Yeah. So they were showcased on this Good Day Sacramento. So it's just a special rowing team for people that are cancer survivors. Most of them are breast cancer, but they run the spectrum as well. Because like I said, Shari had lung cancer. So that's kind of cool. It's just a place for them. And obviously this team, is separate from the other teams that are a little more active, a little more competitive. And so they are moving at the rate that these people are tolerating. And they, there's a lot of misses because people can't come all the time. And that's all of part of the equation, that you just come when you can and you do what you can. And anything you can do is better than doing nothing. So I'm pretty proud of the club and they value that they're doing this. And so this is actually the first rowing. It's a big thing in the East Coast, but this is the first one in the West Coast that's filling this niche here, basically. So that's kind of cool. And if you guys ever learn about any other niches, I'd certainly love to hear about them and share them. These are the only two that I personally know about. And this is just a little summary of all that stuff, that just because you have cancer doesn't mean that you should sit on the couch. So you got to do the same things that you've been doing to get your 150 minutes in, to do some resistance training, to do some stretching, to do some moving. But you got to listen to your body, and it might be telling you different stuff now than it did before, but you still need to listen to it. Yeah, that's all I had. So comments, questions, anybody think they want to share? I'm sure you know people that have cancer that have done stuff. Wendy.
So my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer last year, and before that he wasn't very active. But in the past year, he walks, he gardens, and drinks a lot of water. And he seems to be healthier. I don't know if I feel like with cancer, if you're more positive and do a lot of things, it doesn't. That's my view. It doesn't affect your lifestyle as much,
Right,
as if you just let it become you and become depressed about it. And I've seen that with my dad, and his diet has changed. He eats a lot of greens, a lot of mushrooms, and he's
well, good for him. Good for him. Yeah.
So yeah, for anyone that has cancer, I feel as soon as you're diagnosed, if you change your lifestyle and add a lot more exercising, it helps a lot.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. You need to focus on your lifestyle and focus on the hope, because when you lose your hope is when you really fall apart. And the exercise should have a positive effect on that concept, that you're more hopeful if you can keep doing the things that you like to do. Yeah, thanks. Anybody else? All right, well, thanks for staying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you are there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Linda.
I didn't know you were there. You snuck in.